SR&BG in the spiritual bowel movement. The spiritual boo-boo. I know that sound nasty, but everybody take a physical boo-boo. You eat, don't you? And when you eat that food, you put that food up inside of you. It gotta come out, right? Well, what if it didn't come out? Could you imagine if all the food you ate since you was young didn't come out? And it was just stacking up, and now you're 20 years old. You're 25, 30, 40 years old, and you still haven't took a physical bowel movement. I'm talking about that boo-boo, man. You haven't took a boo-boo in 40 years. How would you look? How would you smell? Would you even be alive, man? You might need a colostomy bag. Is this too much for you? I'm talking about the spiritual boo-boo. The spiritual bowel movement. When I first heard forgive your enemies, pray for your enemies, and all that, I thought it was for the suckers. I really did. I was like, why the hell would I pray for somebody and forgive somebody who was coming for my neck, man? I'm not forgiving them. I forgive my children. I forgive my girl. I forgive my mama. But I'm not forgiving everybody, man. I used to think like that. Until I understood about the spiritual bowel movement. You see, when you forgive, this person did you wrong and you innocent in this situation. And you forgive. When you forgive that person, it's like taking a spiritual bowel movement. You releasing all that. This is what you heal from. All of that trauma. You forgive those people. Every time you forgive somebody that did you wrong, it's like taking a squeeze. Man, I know this sound nasty, man, but I ain't never met nobody that can survive without taking a physical boo-boo. I'm talking about a spiritual bowel movement. There's people who's walking around with filth up in them that they absorbed spiritually. When they was like 10 years old, man, that molestation, that abandonment, that humiliation, it's still up in there. They still haven't digested it and squeezed it out. So it becomes poison. I'm telling you, man, you have a spiritual body just like you have a physical body. And that spiritual body, it absorbs different energies, positive, negative. It absorbs the traumas and all that. And it's up to you. It's up to you to release that. It's people that's 50 years old that still got the poison up in them that they mother put up in them when they was 6. Man, you absorbed this when you was 6. That's like eating a burrito in 1996 and it's still up in your stomach, man. I mean, imagine what would happen to you physically. Now, imagine what would happen to you spiritually and mentally. You absorbing all of this stuff, man. You going through life, you absorbing it. Absorbing the humiliation, absorbing the abandonment, absorbing the rejection. And you just keeping it up in there. It's all in your stomach and in your chest. And guess what happens? High blood pressure, heart attacks, It start manifesting physically. Why do you think that high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attacks, strokes is so high up in communities where I live in? People that look like me. Why? Why is it high? It's not just the food. Everybody eat the damn food. Yeah, it's the food a little bit. But how many people you know in the projects or on the avenue, the boulevards that's chilling, that took that spiritual bowel movement? And when you get 60 and 70 years old, man, it starts to manifest. That stress, man, that midlife crisis, man, that midlife crisis comes when you reach my age and you realize you haven't took that spiritual bowel movement yet. You haven't let go of all of the hurt and stuff like that. So here comes the midlife crisis and you try to cover it up with a candy red Corvette and big buff muscles. But you can't, man. This is why people go to therapists, because therapists are spiritual bathrooms. A therapist is where you go to dump off all that stuff. That's why they get paid so much. That's why a therapist need a damn therapist, because they come across so many people with spiritual boo-boo that they have to get that boo-boo off them. That's why a lot of therapists be going crazy and stuff, man. You didn't know that? The spiritual boo-boo. The spiritual bowel movement, man. There's a guy out there that's 25 years old. He was molested. He was really molested, man. By his uncle, by somebody that he trusted. His uncle told him that they was going to the WWE, but first they went to the park, and it got dark. And he never took that spiritual bowel movement, man. So now he out there killing people. Yeah, that's why. That's why the stress, that's why the trauma, that's why the pain, because people never release, man. And it creates something. And that something start talking to them and reminding them. It start reminding them. They try to kill everybody that remind them of their uncle that molested them, man. They try to get rid of every single body that remind them of their father that left them. But they never take the spiritual dookie. So how do you take the spiritual bowel movement? How do you take this spiritual boo-boo of releasing? You have to forgive. You have to forgive your mama, your daddy, your friends, and all of that. You have to look at it as spiritual military boot camp type training, man. All of the people that came against me in my life, I forgive them. They were only lessons. When I cut off the video game and I'm playing Mortal Kombat, my favorite character, one of my favorite characters, Scorpion, and I'm playing against Baraka, one of my worst characters. I don't like Baraka. After he beat me and all of that type of stuff, it hurt at that time. I don't like getting beat by Baraka or even Liu Kang. But I forgive him. I cut the video game off. And then I move on. Just imagine if I spent all day dwelling on how Baraka beat me up. Dwelling on how Sub-Zero or Jax Briggs. I love Mortal Kombat, man. I love Mortal Kombat. I like that game. I really like that game. But just imagine if I spend all day dwelling on how he beat me up, on how he abused me in the game. I couldn't even block. I mean, I put that game on extra hard. And I mean, you have to be extra good, and they beat me extra bad. You feel what I'm saying? But I don't take it throughout my day. I forgive Baraka. I know he's just the NPC. This is just a game. And I move on. I always take a spiritual dookie. I take a spiritual dookie and the physical dookie. I always release my bowels all day long. That's why my skin glow. That's why my breath don't stink, baby. And that's why I ain't stressing on nobody. Nobody that ever did me wrong in the past or anything. I forgive them. I really forgive them. I forgive them. I'm not going to talk to them again, but I really forgive them. I don't want to think about that no more. I really don't care. I'm not going to dwell on it. There's people out there that's dwelling on things that happened up in 2006, 1982. They dwelling on things that happened when people was wearing bell bottoms and afros. There's a person out there that's stressing, that haven't took that spiritual bowel movement, and they stressing on something that happened in 1976. Man, I'm talking about Superfly. All day long in a mind, they can't escape the Superfly. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. All praises to the Most High. Peace.